welcome back to Art with Miss K, where every week we dive into a new art topic and create our own masterpieces. Last week we were able to paint our own realistic candy corns, so be sure and go and check that video out. I'm doing things a little different today and we're diving right into it again. Today we'll be learning how to draw and paint this cute little Frankenstein. So let's go over the supplies you'll need and let's just get started. Alright, so here are the supplies you'll need. If you're wanting to join in but don't quite have the right or all the supplies, no worries. I set up an Amazon list where you can find the supplies you might need, located in the description below. So check that out. For today, you'll need a canvas or heavy paper, pencil and an eraser, a palette, water. I will be using my new gouache paints today. I've been loving them so much. Or you can use acrylic paints and paintbrushes. Also be sure to have some paper towels and an old towel on hand, just in case. First, we're going to start by sketching out our Frankenstein friend, and we're going to start by sketching out his forehead. Like I mentioned last week, guys, I always like to start my designs or drawings by shapes and then slowly add on the details from there. So, let's start with that forehead shape. We are going to start by doing a square, or in my case, I'll be doing more of a rectangle. After that, let's add on some cute little ears. These will be like half ovals almost, like so. After we get those ears in, I want to start adding lines to really shape a big squared off Frankenstein jaw. So I'll draw a line towards the bottom of the page, but make sure you give yourself some room. Then let's add on those cheeks. Not super round, but just enough to give you those cheeks you're looking for. It's cute little cheeks. Also add in those little bolts in his neck, lines coming out, and add ovals on the end of those. Make sure you line those up as much as you can. Now that we've got those basic shapes in there, let's start adding in those little sketch details that help make all the difference. We're gonna round out his forehead a little more, start sketching out his hairline a little bit, and round out the top of his head because that head isn't completely squared off. It could be. You could totally make a squared off head if you would like. I will be making mine a little more round. As I'm adding in those details, I also like to start slowly erasing the basic shapes we start with. Now, let's get some eyes going. Add some basic half ovals here, starting at the bottom of his forehead. Try to make them symmetrical or as even as you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're not looking for perfection, we're just having fun. Now, let's get his jaw a little more soft with softer edges. Add a little button nose, a nice little smile, a little extra chin detail, and round out those bolts in his neck. Let's make sure we add detail to his ears. On the right hand side, let's start with some small, almost like backward C shapes. One small and one a little larger. On the left hand side, create the same shapes in that almost C shape. This side would be like a regular C shape. Now add some more detail to those eyes and get the eyes looking more like eyes. Little bags under the eyes are always great. Now, let's move on to that color. In this case, for my base, I like to use my main colors. I made this green color mixing up some yellow, light green, dark green, a deep blue color, and some white. Mix some colors together to really just get what you're looking for here. After you finally make that perfect color, start applying that base color all over Frankenstein's face. When you get that base color everywhere, let's start adding in a darker shade of that same green to our Frankenstein to add some depth. What I like to do is mix my green that I made with the tiniest dot of black, and I mean super tiny, like a tiny bit. Black always goes a long way. Now let's add some shadow from his hair. On his right side of his face, under the eyes, What I like to do is imagine the light is coming from the one side and shadow where I think the light wouldn't be able to hit it. Now, on to the highlights. Make some of your original green from the very beginning and color and mix a smidge of it with some white to get your highlights color. Now, what I like to do here is also imagine where the light would really shine on the object or person and highlight those specific areas. For example, here, the forehead, the top of his nose, left side of his cheek. Also be sure to add in that shadow for his mouth, chin, and nose. And I always seem to want to add in last minute details like this little cut on his head. So feel free to add in whatever details you might want to add to your little Frankenstein friend. Let's not forget to get these bolts painted. Start with your base gray and practice the highlighted color for that gray, as well as the shadow for that gray. Now, as we get to his hair, I didn't want to do straight black, so I used dark blue color. Also be sure to highlight that hair on top of his head and the little streaks going down onto his forehead. Now on to one of my favorite parts, where we start outlining everything in black. This step isn't necessary, but I'd love to do it because it really makes that art pop. And the final touch, which really brings these eyes to life, the whites in the eyes. The tiniest dot always does the trick for me. And there you have it, mini makers, your very own Frankenstein. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you had fun and enjoyed this how-to video on how to draw and paint Frankenstein. Remember, practice makes perfect, so keep creating. If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like this video, comment what other art projects or artists you love to learn about, and subscribe to Art with Miss K. And share your creations with me on social media, or shoot me an email with a picture of your art at info@minimakersart.com. Until next time, keep creating, stay inspired, and remember, the world needs your creativity. Thanks, guys.